And welcome to the Nug Life Podcast. I am your host, Dan Weston. I am here with my co-host, Santiago Salazar. We are getting ready for the opening tip-off for the Denver Nuggets tomorrow night. But tonight, we are going to go off on, preview the first couple of games. How you doing, Santiago? It's been a minute since we've been back in here talking Nuggets.
I'm excited. I feel like that Nuggets game tomorrow will be some therapy after that Monday night debacle with the other Denver team. So, looking forward to it. We got the Nuggets back in action, the Avalanche back in action. Real excited, man.
Yeah, I mean, you just got sports coming out your ears in Denver now, people. So if you can't find a sport to watch, you're just not trying hard enough. Like Santiago said, we got football, basketball, and hockey all going on right now. And if you're into baseball, there's postseason baseball. We know it's not the Rockies, obviously, but there is postseason baseball going on as well. So there is just every sport going on. It's got to be a dream for all sports fans. But getting into this, as we said, Nuggets start tomorrow night. But they finished the postseason strong after an 0-2 start. Nuggets go 3-0. What was the reality? The 0-2 start or that 3-0 finish?
Well, you ask any Nuggets fan, they're not going to tell you that 0-2 start. I think that was just to get the feet wet, get Jamal out there. He hasn't played in, over a year and a half. So that 3-0 finish, I know, but I think the last two games was just a lot of bench guys, a lot of players trying to make a roster. But that's the reality of this team, especially starting off with the Jazz tomorrow night. You want to get the season going off on the right foot. And I feel with the health, this can be a team that can just get off and going, get up on their feet and start running away with, being a top seed in this conference, especially with Jamal healthy. MPJ, I know they might limit his minutes just a little bit, I think, just for the beginning, first part of the season. But once he's, 100% healthy, because MPJ is the main one that kind of worries me. But if you get all those guys clicking right away tomorrow against the Jazz, a team that, pretty much blew up their entire roster, they have a chance to show everyone what this team can really be only in one game.
Yeah, I do feel sorry for Jazz fans that are looking –
I don't.
They might be looking forward to a competitive game. But I'm sorry, without Rudy, who's going to stop Joker? So, and we'll get into that a lot more later. But yes, I do agree. The 3-0 finish was much more indicative of what this roster is capable of. That 0-2 start, it was, like you said, a lot of knocking off the rust. But even then, you saw glimpses of what we saw right here. There's a reason I'm wearing this shirt. Elevate 2020, baby. That was the last time we saw the big three in Denver really together doing their thing. And now we get to see him again with Aaron Rodgers, KCP, Aaron Rodgers. I just said that. Aaron Gordon.
Hey, we were talking so much about Broncos before the show, man. You still in football mode, bro.
I guess I am.
It's still in football mode.
Switch gears here. Drop the gear. Drop the clutch. Yeah, with Aaron Gordon and company, those three together with this bench that was really a bit of a revelation over the preseason. Like, I expected the bench to be strong, but to go out there and take on the likes of the Warriors in that and win, and especially what they did in the second half of that Warriors game, was really eye-opening on just how dominant that bench can be when they're right.
Oh, without a doubt. And if you're a true Nuggets fan, I would be, scouting tonight's game. The Warriors are against the Lakers tonight, so see, what they got going on. The Nuggets playing Friday night, so that would be, I think, the first primetime, or if you want to call it that, first primetime game for the Nuggets would be televised on ESPN. But to just get a chance to go take out the Warriors in your second game, that has to be, I feel a breath of fresh air, especially with the healthy Nuggets squad. How last year ended losing 4-1. Are we in Denver or are we in Golden State for that one?
For the Golden State game, we are in San Francisco.
Okay. Oh, they moved their arena, didn't they?
Whatever. It's in the San Francisco area.
Whatever.
It's
in the Bay.
We'll say the Bay Area. There we go.
Yeah, the Bay.
Cover it.
But like I said, if you're a real Nuggets fan, go out there, scout, see what the Warriors are working with. All that drama with Jordan Poole and Draymond Green. but this Nuggets team, I feel with that matchup early on, they can show the Warriors who's boss when healthy. I know that the Nuggets have not been able to advance that far in the playoffs because of injuries. The year before, getting swept by the Phoenix Suns, and you could just imagine if we were 100% healthy, the Nuggets are competing for the NBA championship. And last year, we all know what happened with the Warriors series. We couldn't find who could be our second best player night in and night out. So now you have a 100% healthy team. Let's go show them and let's go ball out.
Yes, I agree with that. So we were talking a lot about the bench. Do you believe they can continue that strong play they showed in the preseason into the regular season?
When you have Nikola Jokic on your team, of course, a guy who gets everyone involved, who's going to make everyone look good. He's the ultimate facilitator, ultimate all-around player. I was seeing a lot of top 5, top 10 lists of best players in the NBA, and Nikola, some of them, he was ranked 3rd or 4th. And it's just, as I say, blasphemy, man. It's a back-to-back MVP being disrespected like that. And, he's a back-to-back reigning MVP. He's the best player in the world right now. And for the disrespect to be thrown his way, it's ridiculous. And I still think, it's amazing to say that someone who's one of the most valuable players 2 years in a row has still a lot to prove. I don't think he has anything to prove to Nuggets fans, but to the national spectrum, for them to understand that this guy's for real. He's just because he's not a big outlandish guy, he's not a big talker, doesn't mean that he should be, overlooked. And it's the most frustrating thing I think it is for Nuggets fans.
Yeah, and I think at this point, Nuggets Nation they're going to have to get used to being underrated. They're going to have to get used to the coast overlooking what they do until they win a championship. I think that's going to be the only thing that truly gets Nikola and Jamal and company the recognition and the respect that they deserve. Again, I'm not saying that that's what they should have to do to get the respect, but at this point, there's literally nothing left for them to do. He's won the back-to-back MVPs. He's broken every big man record you can think of. He's had a season that no other human on earth has ever had. And people still questioned whether or not he is the best player in the game. Think about that again. Let me say that again. The man had a season that no other human, not LeBron, not Michael Jordan, not Kobe, nobody else has ever had, has ever done. And people still question the man on whether or not he is a superstar, let alone an MVP. Like, you have got to be kidding me. You got to be joking at this point.
How valid are those people that criticize him the way they do? I see it's a lot of Fox Sports people. It's the Nick Wrights of the world. Who's the moderator for Colin Cowherd?
On Nick Wright. Oh my God. I don't even. The only thing I know about Colin Cowherd is that he has a show somewhere. I couldn't even tell you where his show is aired at this point. I don't know.
He's part of Fox Sports, and on the weekends, on the weekends, the moderator of the Colin Cowherd show, she has, I guess, her own little, 2 to 3 hour show segments.
That chick, I think I might. Joy Taylor, is that it?
Yeah, she's
okay.
What's her name? Number 99 from the Dolphins back in the day. He was like their best pass rusher, Taylor. Freaking.
Jonathan Taylor, wasn't it?
Who is it, man?
I want to say it was Jonathan Taylor.
Not Sean Taylor. We all know the late great Sean Taylor. You know what I'm talking about. I'm painting you a picture right now. I'm Bob Rossing you.
No, I know what you're talking about.
That's her brother. That's her brother.
Okay, that's her brother. Okay,
Jason Taylor.
Jason Taylor. Yes.
There we go.
Okay.
And so she has this show, I guess, for 2 or 3 hours, and this was a while back before Nikola was named the MVP for a second year in a row, and it was Nikola and Joel Embiid neck and neck for who would win the award, and she was going in favor of Embiid, and she said on record, if Nikola Jokic wins another MVP, he's probably going to be the worst MVP, probably worse than Russell Westbrook because he's a stat pattern. And first of all, I don't think she pays attention to Nuggets basketball. She might just pay attention to what everyone else says. because Nikola Jokic does not care about stats. He doesn't care about any of that. He goes out there and he just completely balls out. Anything to make the team, help the team win. Every press conference or any post-game interview he has, he's just trying to make the right plays so the team can be in the best position to be successful. And so I just think that a lot of these people are just saying stuff to be controversial because they have really nothing else better to say, and it's just frustrating. Now you look at the Charles Barkleys, Shaquille O'Neal's, people who know basketball. They give this guy his credit where credit's due, and it's a lot of these, these just weird media people from these Fox Sports, these 4-letter networks, and it's just funny because have they ever dribbled a ball more than 10 minutes?
Yeah, you got a point there, and I do agree with your take on Joy. I completely forgot that she was the moderator for Colin Cowherd. I only remember her from her really bad takes on Twitter. That's the only reason. She's got really, really bad takes, and you cannot convince me that this woman knows anything about Nuggets basketball. No. She might know something about something on the East Coast, maybe something in Miami because that's where her entire family's from. Maybe something like that, but there's no way that she knows anything other than maybe what she did in a short Google search maybe 5 minutes before she went on air. That's all that she knows when it comes to this roster. So I agree. Yeah, she's just parroting like so many in this industry do. It's one reason why I refuse to use scripts. It's the reason why we are going off the top of our dome is because I am not about to allow anybody, let alone myself, sit up here and be a parrot, Pollyanna cracker for somebody else's take just simply because I'm too lazy to do my own research or my co-host is too lazy to do their own research. Like, this is why we do what we do. It's not because we're trying to be against the grain or whatever. It's to avoid that kind of BS. It's to bring you the reality.
The sad part about those people, the Joy Taylors, the Nick Wrights, is they have a point and they have substance, but the substance doesn't back up their point. She tried to say the worst or just a stat pattern, the worst MVP. Now, if you want to, 27 and whatever he averaged, what was it, 8 and 13, 14? I don't have the numbers in front of me. But if you want to take a deeper dive in it, all right, let's go to the statistics that actually do matter. The win share, the true shooting, the player efficiency. Those are statistics that actually do matter. Now, I'm just spitballing here. I think Nikola Jokic was in the double figures for his win share. And, that stat is pretty much saying how many more wins he puts on your team while being there.
To be specific, he has 79.6 win shares.
See, that's ridiculous. And that's throughout his career, though, right?
Yeah, that's his career number, 79.6. His PER is 27.1. His free throw percentage is 83%. 3-point percentage is 34.5. Again, for a 7-foot-tall man, that is insane. Overall field goal percentage is almost 55%. He averages in his career 20, 10, and 6.
Here, hold on. I'm trying to look because I did hear a stat that he had one of the best PERs of all time last season, like way higher than Wilt Chamberlain. Right. There we go. Nikola Jokic. So the top three and for career PER. It goes Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic. When you're in the same conversation, the same sentence as Michael Jordan and LeBron James, like, people need to get with the program, and it's so unfortunate and frustrating that we have to do some kind of convincing to the national media.
And one of those three things is not the same.
Yeah,
this is a 7-1 center that's in the same conversation as those two men. A point guard and an all-5 position dude. That was 6'4" and 6'8".
See, with LeBron, we've seen a big 6'9" point guard in LeBron. Now he's a little bit more muscular, but in Magic Johnson, we've seen that before. Michael Jordan, we've seen a Clyde Drexler, people like that. Now we've never seen competitiveness like Michael Jordan. We've never seen nothing like that. But when you talk about Nikola Jokic, all-around skill, someone who is out there passing the ball like Allen Iverson or Jason Williams, then he's going all three-level scorer, shooting like Dirk Nowitzki in the post. Like, you can't call him a copycat. He just throws all these NBA legends in the blender, and you get Nikola Jokic. It's just – and we're so blessed to have a guy like that, a humble player like that, someone who is not looking for the fattest and biggest paycheck, someone who just wants to go out there, ball out, help his team win. And he don't care if you know his name or not. He's going to go out there and he wants, team success. And that's probably the biggest blessing is this guy does not care about individual awards, even though he's gotten every individual award that's possibly able to get.
But that's how it goes. Like if you ask Kobe, you ask Michael Jordan, LeBron James, ain't not a single one of them are going to say, I aimed for an MVP. I aimed for a scoring title. No, they aimed for a winning team and to win championships. When you do those things, all the rest comes together. But when it comes to Nikola Jokic, there are two things he cares about: winning basketball games and riding horses.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. That's it. That's the list. That is all that man cares about. As long as those two things are happening, he's happy. Everything else, that's just icing on the cake for that man.
Have you ever rode a horse before?
Yes, many times.
I rode a mule. I don't know where that puts me in the.
Riding a mule, it's kind of. It is what it is. It's a smaller, more angry horse, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've rode all kinds of horses.
Man,
I've rode Clydesdales, I've rode Paints, I've rode Arabians. I grew up in the country, brother. I lived on a farm for a while, so yeah, I've definitely rode horses. I have branded cattle. I have slaughtered cattle. I have done all of those things. So yes,
you country strong then, huh? You country strong.
Yes, sir.
I rode a mule when I was like 6 years old in Wyoming, and ever since then, I don't know. I always want to ride a horse. Broncos country. If you're a Bronco supporter, you got to ride a horse at least one time in your life. So maybe we could have that happen sometime.
Heck yeah! See,
we love horses, huh?
I love horses, bro. If I could own a horse, I love horses. I am a American version of Nikola in that essence. I absolutely love horses. I know how to take care of them. I know how to, all those. I know how to saddle them, all that good stuff. But here's another one. Oh, this is the first one. Nika says Melo needs to come back to Denver. He is third on the franchise's all-time scoring list. Melo would be a great addition to the team again. We did go over this a little bit a few weeks ago, but I think it's a good enough time to do it because I think he is still a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. So what do you think at this point? Do you think it's worth it to bring Melo back, or is this team just pretty much set and we should just go ride with what it is?
I wouldn't say no, just because Melo the last couple of years has had that revelation. My bad. Words are hard to pronounce. He's had that revelation, though, to understand that he's not a go-to scorer. He's not a 1, 2, or 3 option in offense. He's not a starter. He's had that realization that he's a bench guy, and if he's going to be on a team, he's going to get bench minutes. So I wouldn't mind it. The thing only I would mind about is the age of Melo. I don't know how much he has still left in the tank to actually be a top performer. It would be great for viewership, bring an old Nugget back with the Nuggets, maybe finish off his career with us and go on a deep playoff run. I would love that. But if we're talking about winning basketball, there's a lot of guys on this roster that, I wouldn't sacrifice just to bring Carmelo Anthony aboard.
That's my problem. Probably the only player I would be willing to sacrifice to bring in Melo would be Ish Smith. And that's because he's just kind of like a third point guard. It's kind of hard to get rid of him because he's played so well so far in the preseason. But that's about the only guy at this point. All the rest are either too young, too good, or both at this point. So unless they're willing to get rid of like I said, an Ish Smith and replace him with Carmelo, I just don't really see it happening. And I don't see him as a necessity. Now, say, Lord forbid, an injury happens somewhere. Yeah, that's probably one of the better options you would have if you did have to go down that route. But we're not going to talk about those things. We're just getting people back. So we're not going to heck that.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it, man.
Let's see, what's this? We rode the horses at City Park when we were little when Mama brought us. Oh, they're having some nostalgia of their childhood.
Uh-oh. I see the tear coming out your eye. I see the tear.
Dude, that's not mine. That's theirs. That's the sisters talking to each other.
Oh man.
I don't know nothing about that. I rode horses that weren't tied to a stake and just going in circles. I was out in the prairie and stuff. So.
You're a savage, isn't it?
Oh yes, brother.
Oh,
But getting back over here, the Nuggets open the season against the Utah Jazz. As we mentioned earlier, Jamal Murray, MPJ, cleared. Jamal hasn't played in over 530 days. MPJ hasn't played in just under a year. Excuse me. Sorry. Should Nuggets Nation temper their expectations, though, of how good this team is going to be early in the season?
I think so. I mean, of course, I would love us to get up and running and, winning as many games as possible since we're healthy. But you see a perfect example with, the blue and orange team in Denver, the Denver Broncos. Everyone has had such high expectation for this team. On paper, they look nice. But when you have such high expectation, you're disappointed more. You're breaking TVs. You're punching your wall. I don't know if everyone does that. I don't know. I might be speaking for myself.
I am guilty. You are not alone.
I might be speaking. Well, that's why we got our little podcast.
Brother.
I think it'd be the right thing to do, though. It's a long season. Don't ride the expectations right away. There will be a time where the Nuggets get clicking on all cylinders. You got to figure MPJ, Jamal, and Jokic haven't played on, even Aaron Gordon. So these Jamal and MPJ I don't even think have played with Aaron Gordon that much since he's joined the team. So they got to build a little bit of chemistry together. This matchup against the Jazz is something to get us going, get the confidence rising. I mean, who's on the Jazz's roster? That's my question. Who is? I knew they blew up. Donovan Mitchell got traded too.
With all due respect,
who is on their roster? I'm being very genuine. I looked at it. I know Sexton's there because they traded Donovan Mitchell. I'm thinking there's a funny joke, and it's not appropriate for on there, but Rudy Gay and Colin Sexton, the combination of that duo have their own nickname. I don't know.
Let's not say that joke.
Let's not. I'll just let y'all figure it out.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. Oh man!
Not get canceled tonight.
All right, I'm sorry. I'll leave it where it is. Leave that one alone.
I mean, yeah. With all due respect, we're going to try and be respectful. But yeah, really, outside of maybe Clarkson, Conley, I mean, really, what is there? That roster was built to tank. They are looking for lottery tickets at this point, especially with all the first rounders they got back and things of that nature. Man, this is going to be bad for Jazz fans. And I know I said I felt sorry for them earlier, but I've been really wanting to backtrack that because of how insufferable those fans have been over the years. Now that I think about it, I don't feel sorry for y'all at all. I'm going to absolutely enjoy the mollywop y'all about to get upside your head. So,
who did the Lakers trade?
Sorry, go ahead.
Who did the Lakers trade? Because Taylor Horton Tucker is with the Jazz now. Who did they? Pat Beverly. That's who. Pat Beverly.
Yeah, that was the Pat Beverly trade. Yep,
because I'm looking at this. I'm like, dang man,
there's nobody.
So many guys who were fundamental pieces for teams. They're just on the. That's how you know this is a team that really has no direction where they're going now.
And this team is not the team they are going to finish with. Clarkson, Conley, Gay. Sexton, those are all probably guys that are going to be traded before the trade deadline hits. So look for those guys to be auditioning for other teams as we go along the first part of the season here. So with, again, yes, Nuggets fans, temper expectations. Don't expect 30-10 from Jamal or 40-10 and 5 from MPJ to start the season. That's just unrealistic. Could it happen? Yeah, they have that type of talent, but it just temper your expectations a little bit so that way, like Santiago said, you're not punching your walls and breaking TVs. But one of the bigger surprises of this roster is that both Brown and Watson, that's Christian Brown, the first-round pick from Kansas, and Peyton Watson, the first-round pick out of UCLA, they both made the 15-man roster. What excites you the most about this pair and then going to be being staggered with some of the starters.
Well, it shows just what Peyton Watson's made out of. A guy who we were critical on this show about. He has so much potential, man. Braun, I don't know if he's going to get a lot of playing time. He did really look a little rough and raw in that preseason. And Malone unless you're Bones Highland, doesn't really favor playing a lot of rookies. So I think it's a good testament for themselves, proving themselves that, we are NBA worthy. I think Peyton Watson is a little bit on a higher tier than Braun is. Are we saying his name wrong again?
You are, but
Braun.
Yes, I wasn't
Christian.
trying to be too hard on you, brother, because we'll get it eventually. Someday.
My thing is if you haven't really done nothing in this league, then you don't really deserve us to remember to say your name. Same with the nickname. You don't deserve a nickname. We were talking about Dan Orlovsky, and you don't need no Dio. What is this? Keyshawn Johnson? Yo, Dio. Wait a sec. It's Dan Orlovsky. Ain't no damn Dio.
Dude, I think now that I've really kind of watched their interactions, I think that's Keyshawn just ribbing Dan Orlovsky. You remember the text I sent you the other day?
Yeah, you texted me that.
He destroyed Dan Orlovsky on NFL Live on national television. It was so wonderful, dude. You got to go look at it. If you haven't looked it up on YouTube yet, look it up on YouTube of Keyshawn talking about quarterback stepping out of the back of the end zone to Dan Orlovsky's face. It was absolutely wonderful.
Get back on track.
Get back on track here because I'm going to go way too far off on Dan Orlovsky there. But yes, Peyton Watson has been a revelation. I think a lot of people believe Christian Brown, I almost did it.
Yeah.
Brown was going to be the guy to do what Bones did last year, that he was just so advanced with the way that he played defense. He would gain the trust of Malone and get on the floor. Well, I think people really overlooked Peyton Watson, including us. We figured he would be at the best on a two-way contract, if not just outrighted to the G League. But the man made the 15-man roster and didn't even have to worry about the two-way contract. He is on the full-on roster. So that is what excites me, his athleticism, the way he's played defense. He's the one that has shown out on defense and showed that he does have an offensive game, which was what everybody was worried about. Nobody worried about his defense. We all, even us, were like, yeah, the defense is legit, NBA ready. None of us believed that the man would be going almost 40% from three and almost 60% from the field. Yes, again, preseason, take it with conjecture, take it with a grain of salt, whatever, but nobody thought that this man was going to be putting up those type of offensive numbers while also picking up steals, getting blocks, doing the dirty things on the other side of the court that a lot of young guys tend to not want to do. So that is what excites me about Watson, is that he's not what people painted him out to be. Everybody painted him out to be that insufferable, uber talented kid that just didn't want to put the work in, didn't want to do the dirty work to make himself into a superstar. And he has proven that is completely false.
And he's the definition of someone who's ready to do the dirty work. Michael Malone loves defense. Of course, he's defensive oriented. He's been blessed to have a player like Nikola Jokic, a once-in-a-generation type of player. But I think people forget that Michael Malone's dad was an assistant coach of those Detroit Pistons teams, those bad boys. And so, that's where I think Malone gets it from. It's always been in his background. His dad was just a hard-nosed defensive kind of coach. And Peyton Watson, I think, it could probably be on Michael Malone's good side more than Christian Brown. Now, I'm not saying Malone's playing sides or anything. They're all on the same roster. We're all in this together.
No, I get you.
But, I can see Peyton Watson getting more minutes than Braun, honestly, in a realistic situation.
Yeah, gaining more and I'm 100% with you. You're echoing my sentiment 100%, is that he is going to ingratiate himself with Malone because of the defense, not because of the offense. That's the icing on the cake. He's going to ingratiate himself with the defense, and then the offense is just going to come along with it. So, are you looking now? With that being said, Malone himself said that as long as MPJ and Jamal look healthy, he was going to stagger them with the twos. How can that help even elevate this team to a
I think MPJ should be running with the second unit more than Jamal. It's more realistic. MPJ has had a lot of was it more of a severe injury? I think just since this injury dates back so far with his back issues. So I could see a more realistic scenario with MPJ running with that second unit. But Bones Highland, he's going to be running that, man. I mean, we haven't even mentioned Bones yet. And Bones will be running that show with that second unit. With Jamal, he has to build chemistry with Bones. It's a kind of a thing where, Bones hasn't played with Jamal yet. So they got to build that chemistry so where we can see how these guys play together. I would like to see Jamal actually, now since I'm hearing myself, I would like to see Jamal run with the twos a little bit just because he can get his feet wet with Bones.
Testing. Can people hear me now? I probably sound like crap right now while I switch out some battery packs. Can y'all hear me now? I think I hear myself on somebody else's device. Where did I put my microphone packs? Sorry, guys. So I lost Santiago and I lost audio. Sorry, bear with me, guys. Here, I'll be right back. Here, let's bring him in. All right, man. I gotta drop off for a sec. I gotta do some technical difficulties of myself. Here, you can answer.
Your lips were moving, but I didn't hear nothing.
Yeah. But here, answer that question, and I will be right back.
Do you see LeBron ever being? That's crazy. I honestly couldn't. I know LeBron just signed an extension with the Lakers. He's pushing 40, and his son is about to be in the league. I know his goal is to be with LeBron James Jr., and play on the same team. And the family lives in LA. I could see them trying to join up with the Lakers. LeBron, I don't even know if I see him playing on another team. I see him finishing his career as a Laker, which to me is funny because there's been a lot of talks of LeBron James as a top 10 Laker, top 5. I understand he brought a championship to LA, but we all forget it was a Mickey Mouse bubble championship. There was no fans. There was no emotion with the games. So, to answer your question with LeBron being a Nugget, I don't see it, but never say never, Maybe LeBron has, within the coming years, have a lackluster couple performances and bring the ultimate trade and have LeBron James playing with Nikola Jokic. But I really don't see it. But as I said, never say never. Never give up on your dreams.
We actually ended up both having about the same answer on that one. Y'all can hear me all right? Everything's good now?
We're good. We're good.
All right.
Yeah, I had a log out, man, and I came back. I'm like, oh, same problem. So I thought I'd message you.
Yeah, no, you're good, man. Like I said, my freaking microphone pack died on me, and I didn't notice. For some reason, it didn't beep at me. But anyways, we're good. I got a new pack in. We're at full battery. So, but yes, Nutrell agreed with you. Got to be a balling star in the NBA for their name to get right. She's bad at names too. Let's see. How do you think Michael Porter will be this season? I think he'll be a little rusty, just like Jamal for the first couple of weeks. But after that, as long as the back's solid, MPJ is one of the best scorers in the league. He's going to average a double-double along with Nikola Jokic. So MPJ is going to be a baller.
What was his stats last year? I know he only played about, 7 or 11 games? It wasn't the best.
Very much, yeah.
It wasn't the best performances either. He had that back issue. So it's only 9 games last year. He only shot 20% from 3. That is insane. That is just
a year after he shot 40%.
Yeah, that's just not who he is, and you could tell that back injury was lingering, and so they got him right. It's something I'm always probably going to be worried about when it comes to MPJ. That's something that I was critical about giving him that max extension. So I don't know how I feel about Tim Conley. He just gave MPJ a max extension and ran, and he's not going to take responsibility. No, I'm just playing. I think MPJ will be fine, but that injury will always be there, man. It will always be there.
Yeah, Tim Connolly definitely went and got a pack of cigarettes and never came back after that one. I think Bones has a lot of promise. Hopefully he does well. Just to let you know, he's already doing well. He is the leading scorer on the team in the preseason. He is averaging 20 points and like 8 assists a night off of the bench in the preseason. So the man's already balling. He's got his stroke down. I think the talk that DeAndre Jordan had with him a couple of weeks ago, right before training camp, where he just told him, like, you got to believe that he is him, that man is that dude. And as long as he does, he's going to be just fine.
Did Bones ever find his dog?
I have no idea, dude. I gave up. Like he had like almost $100,000 worth of cash and memorabilia for a freaking little schnauzer or whatever that piece of crap dog was.
The leap Bones has taken though in this preseason is pretty impressive because he's going through a lot this offseason. Losing his dog, terrible rap videos. And he had an offseason not to remember, but he propelled himself in his game. I guess his off the court life was a little cringy, but he's on the court balling, so it can't be mad at that.
That matters. Yeah,
that's all that matters.
That's all. Yeah, he wants to keep being cringy off the court as long as he's balling on the court. Do you, guy? I ain't got much for that, but real quick, final predictions: Utah Jazz opening night. What you got?
We're gonna give it a score? We're gonna give it a score.
Let's give it a score.
Let's give it a score. I'm going. Where the Jazz offense gonna go through? It's either gonna be Clarkson or Conley.
Yeah, I mean, Sexton's technically the point guard, but yeah, I would say Conley would probably be the most likely.
I'm gonna give it a smackdown, 90 to 125. It's gonna be a smackdown, man. I think we're gonna run laps on them. Are we in Denver?
I do believe so. I'll double check just to be sure.
Yeah, we're gonna run laps on them. I think this. Oh no, we're in Utah. All right, hold on. Let me change the score then. The atmosphere, the home atmosphere does make a difference. I'll do 90 to 110.
Yep. It is in Utah. So, yeah, I do believe Nuggets win. Home court advantage is a
20-point victory. I don't care.
But I'll say it's even worse. I'll say it's 110 to 85.
Okay. All right.
I don't see them getting more than 85. And I'm trying to be nice because they're at home. I honestly, I would not be surprised if this defense held them to under 80.
Man,
It
well,
could be that bad.
Jordan Clarkson, he's a guy who's meant to be on a team as a sixth man. Are they going to start Clarkson? Like, what are they?
That's what's
Obviously,
so
he's going to
bad.
be. He's a
Everybody
trade
wants.
asset. He's obviously a trade asset. He's on a
Oh, yeah.
team that his role doesn't fit that team. And so I figure they're going to increase his value with playing time to, show to other teams that this guy's a proven baller. I mean, we all know that. And at least I think within the first month or two, he'll be shipped out.
Yeah, I don't see him staying there for very long. Like I said earlier, I do believe all those guys, Conley, Clarkson, none of those guys are going to end the season in Salt Lake City. That's just not going to happen. They are in full tank mode. They want to completely blow this thing up and restart it from scratch the way that they did to build the team with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. They don't care. They're going to get people to show up because what else are you going to do in Salt Lake? Like, honestly, what else is there to do in Utah?
Is that their only? That's their only sports
That's the only
team.
Professional sports team in all of Utah. I mean, you're going to go to some Utah Utes games. You're going to watch some Pac-12 football. That's riveting.
Hey,
come on, Boise State.
Hey, the Utes just took down was it number whatever they are, their top 10 team, but the USC and Caleb Williams, they just took them down. I don't know if you saw that game, man.
Yes, I did, but that's Pac-12 football for you.
Oh, you don't care.
A bunch of pretenders. I'm a CU Buffs fan, and I know how bad the Pac-12 is. Like, it's
insanely bad. But you know what? I'll give you this. Caleb Williams is the first quarterback I've seen with painted fingernails. I've never seen nothing like that. And how are you going to feel when a guy, I don't know if he has.
I don't really care. I mean, the only other place I've seen that has been catchers in baseball.
Okay.
It's for a specific reason. Like they'll use highlighter yellow so that way the pitcher can see what they're putting down more. Outside of that, I haven't.
This guy, he's getting pitties and manis. He's all over the place with them, man. He got the colors.
Derek Carr has it, to be honest with you.
Derek Carr?
Yeah, he already wears guy liners, so why not paint your nails?
Why not? The thing about USC is Jerry Rice's son is over there. I didn't know that. I'm sorry we're on the football train. Let's get back to Nuggets.
I got you.
My bad.
We got some other predictions here. We have Nuggets 105, Jazz 90. Not a bad prediction. And yes, my guy, I appreciate you showing up. And
I could see I can't see the Jazz scoring anywhere near 100 points. It's either going to be 100 or below. It's just there's no fluidity that's going to go through with this team.
If they hit 90, like I said, I would not be surprised them being held under 80. Like it could be that bad. Like I mean, this is the NBA. It's very rare to see that, but the difference in talent between these two rosters is that big of a gap at this point.
Yeah.
But there is going to be another game before we get back on the airwaves for our Nug Life fans, which is against the Warriors. This is the early season matchup I've been most looking forward to. I don't know about you, but to me, this seems like a pretty crucial early matchup, even though it is only the second game of the year. What do you think?
Well, we were saying before the show, this is something to prove ourselves. The way the Warriors manhandled us, we were undermanned, but there's no excuse. I mean, there is an excuse. But I would like not to give an excuse because this is a team, a Nikola Jokic-led team that should have at least went to 6 or 7 games with the team. As the Nuggets, they weren't even healthy with the reigning champions. So the Warriors game is probably something to look more forward to than this Jazz game. It's going to be a game where Nuggets are going to run laps on the Jazz. So, tune in just if you've been missing Nuggets basketball. But if you really want to be glued to the TV watching competitive championship contender basketball, tune in on Friday because that's what it's going to be. I know the Nuggets have that sour taste in their mouth. I know Jamal Murray's ready, especially after he suffered that injury on that Oracle Arena floor, or I think it's the Chase Bank Arena floor now. They're relocated.
Either way.
Whatever. Either way, it was against the Golden State Warriors where he suffered that devastating injury that held him out for almost 2 years. So expect Jamal, I think, to go off. Now don't have high expectations, but don't be surprised. That would be a better term. Don't be surprised if Jamal Murray goes out there, goes nuts, 20 or 30. Don't expect it, but don't be surprised.
Yeah, I definitely think he will have a different gear against the Warriors than against the Jazz. I think you're going to see a lot more from him and MPJ, and just the usage from Coach Malone in the first game is going to be very light. But in that second game against the Warriors, where it is a barometer game, this is going to be a game that shows just how much all these moves Calvin Booth has made in the offseason has closed that gap from what we saw in the preseason or in the postseason, where the Warriors dumped the Nuggets, and the Nuggets kept it really close. I don't like the disrespect so many people want to give the Nuggets in the postseason. Like, they were the team that gave the Warriors the most trouble.
A run for their money.
Yeah, no other team were you really like, this team could actually win and do some damage against the Warriors other than the Nuggets. And so for people to just dismiss the Nuggets last season as just this team that somehow magically made it into the postseason, they made it into the postseason because they have the best player on the planet, and he has a decent supporting cast. And now he's got some actual superstars. So I just cannot wait to see this team hit the floor and just start punking teams when they get all together and start clicking on all cylinders. It's going to be absolutely wonderful to be a Nuggets fan and absolutely miserable to be any team that they run up against. It's going to be that nasty.
Like, who are the Nuggets really afraid of, though? Like, name one team that the Nuggets should be afraid of other than Golden State, and we gave them a run for their money. You know, like, the Lakers are old. The Timberwolves, they got to figure things out. I know they're playing that big man ball, but Rudy Gobert I don't know if you saw in the what was it? They were what was it? What leagues were they playing where Rudy Gobert was playing it for France or whatever? They were playing for their countries this year. Yeah, and Rudy Gobert was posting up a small man, and he couldn't even get a bucket over a small man, bro. Like, I'm not afraid of Rudy Gobert.
No, not at all. I mean,
not afraid of Rudy Gobert. I don't know. The Clippers, I guess they're going to get Kawhi back. Well, who really cares? The Clippers are like, that was cool when we heard about it, get Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. But now in reality, once we've came to ground zero, like they haven't done anything, you know? So there's no one to fear in this Western Conference.
I mean, yeah, the Clippers thing, I don't ever fear a person that gives themselves a nickname like PG-13. Like, if you give yourself a nickname, that just tells me you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Because if if your play doesn't cause other people to give you nicknames, then your play is just not good enough. Like, Kawhi earned his, LeBron earned his, Nikola earned his. They didn't make it up for themselves and then do it before they ever even do anything in the playoffs above all other things. So
you know what's funny is I completely agree with you that anyone who gives them their own nickname is corny. You know, you walk around the neighborhood and you give it, who names you that, man? And they say, oh, myself. They gonna punk you. They gonna punk you completely. But here's one that will surprise you. Kobe Bryant gave himself the nickname the Black Mamba, and the reason why he did that is he said he related his game to a black mamba because mambas just strike. They strike when they need to, and he nicknamed him that self, and he lived up to it. So on the contrary, Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest players of all time, rest in peace.
And the ultimate exception to the rule.
Yeah, that's the ultimate. You got to live up to it. If you're going to do that, do big things. If you're not going to do big things and win championships and get scoring titles, don't do it.
Yeah. If you're not a GOAT, don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment 100%. So I think we both agree this is definitely one that can be used as a measuring stick going forward. So do you believe the Nuggets have closed the gap enough to make this a win?
This team, I think, can still get better. They still have to show us. They have to show the execution that Jamal's back to where he left off, which isn't going to show right away. I'm looking forward to that Warriors game because I do think he still, he has that want to just get out there and show the world, all the naysayers who were calling him soft because he didn't want to come and play in that series when he wanted to take care of his body. You're going to see why he wanted to take care of his body because he's going to come hard-nosed. And, maybe the bench can have some improvement, but when you have Bones Highland who's getting some rep from some of these national guys who are saying that he might be the sixth man of the year, I have no worries about the second unit. I think we can get better at the big man. DeAndre Jordan is a solid in his prime. He can give you a good 10 to 14 minutes while Joker rests on the bench. Zeke Naji, I think, needs to bulk up a little bit, be a little more versatile. So I think the main worry would probably be just that big man situation when Nikola Jokic is on the bench and that five is, teams are figuring them out. And you have to get some kind of production out of your big man when the Joker's not on the floor.
I think DeAndre Jordan and Zeke Naji are going to be crucial whenever Nikola Jokic is off the floor. And I think that's another reason why Coach Malone is going to be staggering some of the starters, namely MPJ and Jamal Murray with that second unit, is to make up – they're going to have some defensive inefficiencies, to say the least, at some points and against some teams with that bench. So staggering that offense is going to help offset any issues they have defensively. And I think that they'll be okay. They're not going to be great. I know Nikola is one of those players that there's just no way to replace them completely. You just kind of keep the team afloat while he gets his rest. Because once he comes back in, he's going to take over, and they're going to take that next step and get right back in the game. So speaking of some big man issues that we wanted to bring that up now. Let's go ahead and just jump into this. The Nuggets got some mentions in a trade for Draymond Green. The most common has Draymond Green and DiVincenzo for Gordon, Naji, and a second rounder. Do you have any interest in that whatsoever?
I don't like Draymond on this team, and it has nothing to do with the personal stuff. We can get into that on a separate conversation of its own. I know he's a competitive, fiery guy. Every team needs that, especially on a defensive end. But where's Draymond going to fit on this team? I would take Draymond if he's willing to run with the second unit. We already got a big man who can facilitate this team and run up and down the court. And Jokic, I'm not willing to sacrifice, Jokic facilitating the offense and, trade it to Draymond Green. I'll take Draymond's defense and energy, but if he's going to be, with this team, I'd rather have him run with the second unit. And obviously, he's not going to have that. Just came off a championship year with the Warriors. I don't mind the fiery competitiveness. Maybe draw a line when you're giving your own teammate a black guy. But hey, Michael Jordan did that on numerous occasions, I guess. So. Yep. And I think that's kind of why Steve Kerr wasn't even too mad about Draymond, because Steve Kerr was one of the guys who Jordan gave a black eye to. So Steve Kerr understood everything about it. He understood the nature.
Jordan Poole. I mean, almost identical, just a little bit different in the skin color. That's about it.
That's about it. I mean, and Steve Kerr is a lanky, skinny guy. I mean, right. I think Poole has a little bit more meat than Steve Kerr did.
Yeah, a little bit, but not much.
But, I don't mind the competitiveness. I just – what he brings to the table. I don't want someone who's on the team calling everyone out by their name, calling them the B word, and guys want to leave the team now because this guy's a cancer.
More worried about getting views on his podcast than actually.
Yeah, I think
together, and he's demanding a max contract. Like, I'm not giving Draymond, and I'm with you on if he's willing to be that big man on the second unit, all for it, but it has to be for a lot less than Gordon, Naji, and a second rounder.
I'm not giving that.
I might give you 2 second rounders.
I'm not giving up Gordon. I'm not giving up Gordon, bro.
And I'm not giving up any player, regardless. I'll give you some second rounders. That's the best I'll give you, 2 second rounders for Draymond Green. Because outside of the Warriors, his value just falls off a cliff. He's very valuable for that team and maybe for some other teams that run a similar offense, but there's no other team that will value Draymond Green the way the Warriors do, in no way, shape, or form.
Well, back to a football analogy, we were talking about Pat Mahomes. He got all these different kind of guys he's passing to now. You don't have Tyreek there no more. He doesn't have these speed guys, possession guys, whatever. Draymond Green, all he knows is playing with 2 of the best shooters of all time, and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. How are you going to work with guys who don't necessarily have the ability to shoot, catch and shoot the way those guys do? And especially with Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole has been, someone who's been able to do that. Draymond Green hasn't known any other team. He only knows this roster. So how successful would he be outside of this scheme? Now, defensively, we know he's a dog. But, it makes me wonder, is he mad at Jordan Poole because they extended him for a year, 140?
The fight came before the extension. But I think the fight sealed the deal on the fact that they're going to pay Poole and Wiggins.
Over Draymond.
Yeah, over Draymond. Because right now, there's no money for Draymond.
No.
After those two extensions, there's nothing left for them to give Dray. They can't max him out. Even if they wanted to, they can't max him out. So the writing's on the wall. And honestly, at this point, I just don't see how his play on the court outweighs what he does off the court. Because at this point, I just honestly believe he's more worried about the views on his podcast than the points and the wins on his NBA team. I don't want him. I think we already got that nasty defensive mentality with better offense in Bruce Brown and Peyton Watson. Those two guys, I believe, are going to turn heads. And Zeke Naji, I believe, will take a step forward, especially defensively. So this squad, I believe, is set as is. As I said earlier, you never know what happens with injuries, things of that nature. But we're not going to talk about those things. We're going to leave things as they are. This 15-man roster is set. It is legit. It has 3 superstars at minimum, maybe even 4, depending on what Bones does with that second unit. I am absolutely stoked to see this team, and I cannot wait to see what they do here in just about 24 hours. So real quick before we go, last predictions of the podcast. Nuggets, Warriors, Friday night. Who you got? What's your score?
Depending on tonight's game, how it looks, and if it's high scoring or low scoring, we'll pay attention to that tonight. But I'm gonna predict it be a good high scoring game. The Nuggets are gonna bring everything that they haven't had, and they didn't have in that series back in April. I'm giving this one 125-123 in Denver.
Yeah, I think things are going to be a lot more awkward in Golden State than what they're letting on to be. I do believe that there's going to be some growing pains with the chemistry on this team, at least for the first couple of weeks, the first couple of games. So I do believe the Nuggets come out. They do punch the Warriors in the mouth, but the Warriors are good enough to stick with them. I do believe it's going to be high scoring. I think this one ends up 130-125. Nuggets win, and it's going to be a nail biter all the way into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they don't necessarily emphasize defense as much as they do midway and towards the end of the season. So yeah. I don't think coaches are going to be stressing over that. But, exactly. Don't be surprised if you see these high-scoring games.
No, don't. I don't care what the line is, unless it's like 300 points for this game. If you're taking take the over, because I believe that they're going to hit it, because like Santiago just said, the defense isn't going to be as big of a conjecture. These guys are going to be out full. They're going to have full energy. They haven't been beat down by 50, 60 games, bunches of back-to-backs. They're going to have all that energy, all that conjecture. They're going to be ready to go. And so that game's going to be a whole lot of fun. So if you don't like blowouts, then you're not going to enjoy tomorrow very much. But Friday is going to be your cup of tea if you like those close, nail-biter, aneurysm-giving, stroke-giving kind of games.
I've had enough of those with football, man.
Man, you ain't lying. You ain't lying. We've had enough here in Denver. We need some easy wins. So let's cross our fingers and hope that that's the case. We get a couple of easy wins, and we will see you again on Saturday back for our regularly scheduled programming. Be here at 6 o'clock, hour before the game, leading you up to the tip-off on Saturday evening. We will also have Sasquatch Says right before that, so you'll get Avalanche and Nuggets all in the same day. So make sure you come back and enjoy us here on the Tape 42 Network. So for the Nug Life podcast, I am your host, Dan Wetstein. That's my boy Santiago. For the Answers 42, don't question the blue.